Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from Rotating TV, and a quick game of Interplanetary Spy. I'll try not to take too long here, but there's quite a lot to see in these couple of images I'm going to show you. And this is right back at Sol 467, going back quite some time now, a couple of years back. But it really is, like I've said before, worth going through some of these older images of Mars, because some of them are absolutely brilliant. This one is one of my favourites that I've gone over again recently, and I'm going to compare it to some much more recent images of the area. And you have this large wall structure that looks like the edge of a sort of castle or something, like a fortress, and you have these rather interesting buildings here. Now, this may be the pyramid that I showed in my recent video, this one here, or the ziggurat structure. I can't quite work it out. There is more than one pyramid up here, but you can't always see them. It depends on the angle of the light and the shadow. But this was good because the shadows actually really pick out the shapes of some of these buildings. And they are buildings, not all of them, but some of these are enormous buildings. So let's crack on with it. I've got it up here on my page here, and I've got lots of different edits I've done. Right, first I'm going to show you the raw image, which is this one. Okay, now even though this was taken from a long way off, this was probably 5 miles away when it was taken, this image. It's zoomed in a long way. Now the Rover has a very powerful zoom lens on it and can zoom in from a good 2 or 3 miles and still get some really good, quite good imagery. But of course this image has been compressed and resized, but not too badly. It doesn't seem to have affected the image too badly, but when you zoom in it does kind of break up a bit. But you can see, without doing anything to this, that we have a large wall here, going all the way up the side of the mountain, and we have an interesting structure here, what looks like a ziggurat or pyramid here, and a very large sort of bunker or hangar type building here. Now this is completely raw, and there's also, you can see these structures here, these rectangular and square structures. These are buildings also. Now I'm not saying everything here is a building, I'm saying some of it is and some of it is natural. A lot of this stuff looks like it's been cut straight into the rock, or quarried very locally and built from locally quarried stone right on the side of this mountain. So this may well be a case of that, like you would see in Egypt, at Cairo, with the Great Pyramids. They actually quarried, most of the stone was quarried very locally and built, used to build the structures in situ. It was only some of the much larger stonework they shipped for 500 miles from Aswan, places like that. Some of the high quartz content and the highly piezo sensitive rock that they shipped from Aswan, that they used underneath the pyramids to give it the actual generating power that they've got. So let's crack on with it, because I'm waffling on a bit here. I'll show you some close-ups. Now what I did just to check that this was actually there and not some kind of optical illusion or pareidolia or something. How can recognizing a building possibly be called pareidolia? You know, I mean, honestly, what are these people trying to tell us? Right, so here's the black and white version. Now the black and white version has got this horrible grid on, so you have to get rid of that. But you can see, even in this, that is a building and not just some randomly eroded piece of rock. So let's show you the clips. Right, okay. First of all, I'll show you the clips from that black and white image. Here's the raw. Now I had to blur it quite a lot to get rid of the grid, as you can see, so it's very vague and smoky looking. So you've really got to go in quite hard. And what I did is I increased the colour depth and then used fade correction on it and just whacked a load of contrast in there. And even in that blurry image, you can see that this thing has a flat top to it here. It has a symmetrical sort of sloping sides to the building, and it has like roof structures on top. But this one isn't the best because it doesn't show you that much detail, because I had to blur the hell out of it to get rid of the grid. Here's a different colour filter on the same image there. And you can see, even at this low quality and from miles away, probably over 5, it may well even be something like 6 or 7 miles away. I don't know exactly. because obviously the zoom on the lens is very powerful, so it's hard to tell. But you can even tell with this image that there is an opening here, like a massive doorway just here. You can see the top and edges to it. Okay, so this looks like a bunker or hangar of some sort. Okay, so let's have a look at. Now, what I did, I went back to a recent image that NASA put up, PIA 19929, and here it is. Now, this shows the same area, but this is much further to the west. This is a very recent image. This was only put out about a week or two ago, a couple of weeks back. And it is a very good quality TIFF image. And this is what all the Mars images should look like, really, from the rover. But we rarely get them this good. This is superb. I mean, it is a TIFF image. It's made up of 2 photographs. And this goes to show what the mass cam can really do when this just gives a glimpse of what it can really do, but unfortunately normally they just churn out a load of rubbish images for us. But obviously NASA have all their images this good, if not better probably. This may not even be full res. It's probably close to it, but it may not be full quality exactly. So there we go. Now, here's that wall structure, and you can see it in quite good detail here. It kind of looks like part of a fortress here, fortress wall. Battlements or whatever you want to call it, castle walls, very similar to some like I've seen on holiday in Spain and various parts of the world, where you get castles and fortresses on mountainsides usually overlooking a harbour. Funny enough, just so happens the base of Mount Sharp was a harbour. So now these buildings are actually up here. I think that bunker building is this one here. Now obviously it's quite vague. This is from a completely different angle, so we're much further over to the right. So we're seeing a different perspective on this, but you can see some interesting other shapes pop up in this, but the shadows aren't as good here because they're not as, the shadows are quite light. This looks like it was taken around midday-ish, so there's not really any heavy shadow to really bring out the shapes. So you've really got to sort of darken it up, and what I did here, I've got a clip of it here, and I've just colour corrected that. Using fade correction, I should say, and that's really brought the colours out here, and that blue is actually that colour. If you look at the high-rise images of the area, that is actually the colour of them, these areas. Lots and lots of deep blue colours, really stunning. But the buildings in question that we're looking at are up here, just here. And you can see them, not as clearly because the shadows aren't as good. So it's not all about how good the image is. It does depend heavily, this sort of work, on the actual shadows and the time of day. And this is a perfect example of it. Now that's that building again that I showed you earlier, which I'm going to call a hangar or bunker. And this is taken from the raw image. I took it from this one here. And I've just clipped this out like I've done here. Here's the clip. Okay, and you can see it pretty clearly in the raw image. You really don't have to do much to it, and you can see that there's some uprights here and long straight structures and roof-like structures. That is not bad for even though it's zoomed in from miles away. You can see some pretty good information there. And here's just a simple fade-corrected version of that crop that I just showed you, and you can clearly see that there is a large entrance on this thing because it shows up in multiple images, not only in the colour one but in the black and white one, and also this building shows up in the much later PIA image that I showed you a minute ago. So it's definitely there. You can see some fairly good detail and some pointy roof structures on top, and it has symmetry to it. Now let me show you the enhanced clip that I took from that, which is this one. And you can actually see here that it goes down like this on the side, and it has the same shape on this side here. So this is symmetrical. It's kind of like almost like a step pyramid structure on the side here, but it has a massive entrance to it. And there's also this weird thing over here, and there's those things over here again. So I will have clips of these all in at the end of the video for you to have a proper look at, so you can pause it and really, if you want to take a screenshot, you can take a screenshot. Do what you like. So that was that one. So let me show you the sharpened up TIFF. I think is this one. Which one is it? This one here. What I did with this one, I grayscaled it, and all I've done with this is actually sharpen it a bit and increase the contrast to show some of these structures in here, some of this detail. This is really quite amazing detail we got here, a lot better than we normally get. And there's buildings all the way up here, and the rover is supposed to be going to be driving up here in the next 6 months or so, if it ever gets there. Now the problem is it's going to have to drive across a lot of wet sand to get to it, and it may well sink. That could be quite interesting. So unless they find a bridge or some kind of crossing to get to this part of Mount Sharp, I don't quite know how they're going to do it. They may have already found a route. They have been struggling with that a little bit because there's lots of obstacles. There's lots of mounds and domes and also lots of ruined buildings. And they're having to weave their way through these structures to get to this point here and then eventually get right up here. How they're going to hide these structures when they do, I really don't know. If they ever do get up there, it's going to be quite incredible. But yes, you can see that there are multiple structures here. I haven't sharpened all of this, but you can see there's something interesting here. Up here, look. This has a completely straight edge to it here. This structure sticking out. There's some interesting ones here which look quite square, just here. But I will have more enhancements at the end, and I will clip smaller parts out for you to have a look at, because it's hard to take in how much there is here because there's so much of it. It's absolutely unbelievable how much there is to see. Let's have a look at that one again. But I do prefer this angle because basically, like I said, the sun is coming from this side, from the right, and casting a nice deep shadow on the edge of these structures here, so you can actually see the shape of it quite well, and it really brings out the actual form and 3D form of these things. And that's only had a basic bit of colour correction, and you can see that is a building, and you can see an entrance here. Just here you can see the arch, like the actual doorway. So is it a bunker? Is it a hangar? Is it part of a ruined ziggurat or something else? Can't tell you exactly. But to me it looks like a bunker or hangar. And I would imagine the walls on this thing are incredibly thick. Probably 20 or 30 feet thick. Possibly even more. This is a very long way away, and for it to show up this large, it must be enormous. This is bigger than your average Walmart. This is probably hundreds and hundreds of meters. Probably, it could be 500 meters across, possibly 3. I don't know the exact size. It's almost impossible to work out. But it's very, very large indeed for it to show at that distance and that size. And there's this ziggurat-like structure here, up here. I'll put some more clips of that in as well. Cut that out for you. That may be a natural structure, but it looks suspiciously to me like a pyramid. Okay, thanks for watching everybody. I'll see you soon.